All right, so here we go with chapter 12. So slavery is going to be expanding, the South is going to be expanding, and this is the big idea for this one. All right, so here we go. The Chesapeake region, remember, right? Virginia, the Carolinas, okay, their population is now growing. All right, there's a surplus of labor, so the domestic slave trade is expanding. All right, and it's going to start moving southwest. Okay, so they're going to start selling to the southwest. This is going to be Texas. All right, this is going to be Kentucky. This is going to be all of those places. All right, traders are going to sell their slaves. This is condemned by abolitionists, all right? But remember that it's cotton, all right? And it's sugar and it's tobacco, and we need money. And, you know, that's happening. Here's just an image of the domestic slave trade. The idea is that this is a kind depiction. Usually they would actually be nude because you want to see their full figure to see if they're good for reproduction or if they're strong, if it's a man, okay? Family image. The typical, right, mammy, right, the nanny for the white resident, the white baby. All right. Slaves are a capital investment. So, you know, there's like a stock. You invest in this and you're going to get money back in the long run, either in the good of what they're picking or growing or in the later sell of them. Okay. Sales are going to become kind of a punishment. If you don't act, you know, this way or do what I want you to do, I'm going to sell you. Okay. Which is kind of a big deal when you look at the fact that slaves, families are being broken up, right? And children usually don't live with both of their parents. This is an example of a sale docket that's going to come up. All right. This is also an example of kind of the after punishments. This gentleman has all of these scars from the different whippings that he received as a field hand. Remember that cotton is now king. It is the one and only. All right, and we now have the planter elite. Okay, so Gone with the Wind, the image that you see there, that is what we have, right? That is also like 4% of the South, but that is the image that we have. Rice, tobacco, that's the old South elite. Cotton is kind of the new. Everybody's getting their money off of that. All right, lavish parties. All right, but there's this idea of benevolence. Oh, I'm kind to my slaves. I give them clothes and food, and I help them grow as people. Okay. Cotton is really going to resource to the gang labor production system. Okay. So a bunch of people out in the field at one time, working as hard as they can. Okay. 40% of whites are going to own the slaves, right? And like I said, sorry, it's 5%, all right, are going to be the plantations of what you think of in the movies. So poor people did own, so some small planters and yeomen maybe owned 1 to 5. But mostly it was the elite that owned them. And poor freemen, the plus that they had for them was that they ranked higher than blacks in society, and they were often tagged to be part of the slave police. So keeping an eye out for people and making sure they were doing what they were supposed to do. We're gonna get Texas. Remember the Alamo? Oh, Texas, where to begin? People are going to flock there. They're going to eventually kind of take it from Mexico. Mexico's not going to like that they have slaves there. That's going to be kind of where the war starts. Okay, so Mexico's not a fan of slavery in the Republic of Texas. Texas is going to break off and call themselves the Republic of Texas, even though actually they're still part of Mexico, but, you know, neither here nor there. And then we're eventually going to get a war over it. Okay. All right, so African religions and Christian conversion is going to happen. So remember that Baptists, that's going to be the #1 converting religion for free blacks and blacks. It's unofficial to actually have a black minister, but some did learn to read and actually became ministers. Okay, we're going to have the idea of African culture developing, dance, religion, music, all of these things are going to carry over. So remember, they didn't lose their culture, all right, on the ships in the Middle Passage. They brought their culture with them. They merged all the different African cultures, and then they created kind of this new slave culture, which you can often still see when you go to the South and eat all of the food because it's actually slave food. So Slaves' marriages are not going to be recognized by law. They can be broken up easily. They can be remarried if the slave owner wants them to, but they do try to form these family units. They do seek to have some power and control here. Remember, we talked about the idea of agency with slaves. A lot of times they would feign illness, or they would break tools, or they would run away. All of these things were their way of showing agency, that I'm still a person and you can't force me to do this. I can have some power. So try to remember that. A task system, okay, is they complete a specific job every day. It's kind of like an assembly line thing, okay? It's kind of like a specific, you are the cook, so once you're done cooking, you're done for the day. You are the cleaner. Once you're done cleaning for the day, you're done. You are the overseer. Once you're done, right, you're done for the day. Gang labor is work sun up to sundown. They're in the fields the whole time. And if they have more gang labor than they need for one harvest, they can be hired out somewhere else, okay? All right. In the North, the free Black population isn't a lot, okay? We have the escaped slaves, which made up about 11% of the Black population in 1860. They lived in the North. Oftentimes they did eventually go up to Canada, though, and they told their stories, okay? And this is how the abolition movement really kind of spread across to everybody, okay? They didn't always still get educated, but they eventually started to form their own schools, their own churches, and have their own existence in the northern cities. So, all right. So remember that we're expanding out to Texas. We're expanding southwestward. Okay, the domestic slave trade is booming. All right, the North is accepting the runaway slaves. They are a small percentage. They are granted some freedoms up there. Okay, they still get education once they start forming their own schools and religions. They can form their own churches. And remember that a lot of them did actually still go to Canada, because they were still more welcome there than just in the North. Okay, so abolition is going to keep growing, all right, and the domestic slave trade is going to continue to spread. All right, update your big ideas for chapter 12, and until next time.